revenues to try to make things work for us, you know. And but all in all, there's still good news in that, according to what Melanie says, that the market is up and that things will do well eventually. But in terms of us as individuals and in terms of debt, where are we today? Where are we today? How should we look at this economy as individuals?
That's a good question. I was noticing that too, and the stock market for some reason was doing
Doing
awesome.
well. Yeah,
Uh,
doing extremely
they were
well.
saying on the news a record high.
Yeah.
Um, unfortunately with the economy, and it's almost like a game in a sense where when someone loses, someone wins. It's like going to court. When someone wins, someone loses.
Right.
Believe it or not, when the economy does bad, there's some people who profit from that.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Um, Interest rates sometimes go up. So
Mhm.
if somebody loans you money, they can charge more
Mhm.
because of the economy.
Mhm.
So I guess the way I see it is when you see things like that, um, it lets you see that even in sometimes what we see as a tough economy, somebody's benefited. It's just like when we go to war, people
Mhm.
who have invested money in the military,
Yes.
surplus military, the suppliers that supply
Mhm.
to the military,
Mhm.
they make money.
That's right. You're
So
absolutely
it's
right.
it's almost like a catch 22. Somebody wins, somebody loses.
Mhm. Mhm. And one of the three things that my areas that stock went up was they said McDonald's,
Hmm.
cause folk gonna eat.
Hmm.
I don't care what those fast food places gonna win anyway
I'm
because
one of
we
those.
gonna eat
So,
it. They said IBM,
that's right.
the computers and stuff. That went up, and there was another company, and it just everything just shooting
Shot
up,
up. Hmm.
just shot up, and I say to myself, well, it seems like the market is doing well.
Hmm.
Then the economy should reflect the same,
Exactly.
and why is Congress so hard on us, not wanting us to take that risk of going ahead and spending the money, investing the money in things that's going to create more jobs and more opportunity, and give us more medical opportunities for us to stay healthy, well, and alive. I just don't understand that. But even with that, again, I ask you, as an individual with debt, um, what should we do? Looking at that market being up, but then Congress doesn't want to give us any money to invest in the economy so that there will be more jobs. Should we still be kind of leery of how we're spending, what we're doing? Uh, should we be putting the money under the rug? Uh, uh, Still trying to get out of debt. This is tax time too.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing those, like you told me, those new cars out there on
Yeah.
that road.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of 30 days and 20 days tags
We're
out here
gonna
on the
ride and
road.
eat if we don't do nothing else. It's pretty much safe to say we're as American people we're gonna ride and we're gonna eat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've seen the time people get that tax refund. It's a car. It's not about you hardly ever hear anybody say I'm gonna put it in a 401k,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm gonna buy CDs.
But you know what? Even on the television, I heard about now it's not all that great to wait to retirement to put it in 401ks anymore,
No.
and then deduct X number of dollars out of your 401k
Hmm.
anymore. That's even not the greatest thing to do anymore. I mean,
It's not.
it's okay, but it's not the
It's not a
greatest.
guarantee.
Yeah.
Nothing is guaranteed, unfortunately. And I know to answer your question, what should we do? I think nowadays with everything being volatile, everything is uncertain. Banks are uncertain. The annuities, like you were saying, the 401ks, all of that's uncertain. But I think now we have to use extra caution in everything. If you're
Mm-hmm.
going to invest into a investment project or a product, check that company out. It goes back like what we had said way back in one of the other shows. If you're going to do business with somebody, check them out. There are ways you can check out investment firms. You can find out what is their rating, what is their Better Business Bureau, so that if you're going to do an investment with a company or a savings plan or 401k or an annuity,
Mm-hmm.
you can't just go up there and say because my friend told me about it. You want to be able to say, look, I checked them out online. They have a clean Better Business Bureau report. They have a track record of producing good numbers. Because remember when the Madoff scam was going on, he was giving out beautiful statements to the investors. And every month they was showing a profit. But what he was doing was a Ponzi scheme. He was bringing in new investors to pay the old investors. So you can't even go on the reports anymore. You can't even rely on, if you go to a company and they give you a beautiful brochure or printout, and it has all these profit margins that are looking so good, and you say, I tell you what, I'll put $5,000 in there. And then 6 months later, it crashes on the stock market, or there's a big fraud going on. But you got to look at objective organizations that don't have no invested interest. The Better Business Bureau, the Attorney General's office. Check with those agencies first, because to further answer your question, we still have to look at now. We've got to look at putting something aside for the future.
Got to.
For tomorrow.
Got to.
We can no longer live just for today. We can no longer do what our parents did. What got our parents by, our foreparents by, it ain't working today. And I think that's the best way to deal with it. You have to, when you get money or you get paid, you got to look further down the road. And people say, well, you know, my faith in the Lord. There's nothing wrong with faith, but there's a difference in faith and foolishness. The Bible even also tells us to be good stewards over what we have. So part of being a good steward, you have to look at tomorrow and save and see where you can cut corners and see where you can cut expenses and reduce your outlay, that you can be able to eat not only just for today, but for the rest of tomorrow, the next day, the next month, the next year.
And it's okay to not buy the name brand.
Oh God, yeah.
Stuff.
Oh God, yeah.
Anymore, you know, like you might have once did, because there's really, if you really look at it, it's all in the packaging.
It's in the packaging. And you brought up a very good issue. A lot of people don't realize this. I'm gonna use groceries as an example. You have some people who feel like, you know, Del Monte is the best brand out there. I'm just using it as an example. Or Kraft is the best brand out there. I won't have nothing else.
Right.
What they fail to realize most of the time, the name brands make the generic version for the grocery store.
Right.
It's just all in the packaging.
It's all in the packaging.
And most of the time, except for maybe a few things, sometimes there is a little difference, a little bit, but not enough to justify the extra pay that you have to pay for.
Because there's a lot of price difference in the generic brand and the national brand.
It is.
It is quite a bit, and you can save anywhere from, you know, if you can save a quarter, 50 cents, you know, that's still a saving. And a lot of people are going to that, being savvy, being you know, conscious of that savings. And then sometimes you go in the stores and they even have a strategy. The way they place things. And you got to be, I mean, if you're interested in trying to save, and we do need to save, watch where they put things, and be careful that if they're giving you a sale on one thing, they're going to put the price on another thing. So you have to be mindful. If you're trying to really save, you got to be conscious, because these people that are in the business to make a profit, or they're very savvy, and they're very conscious on what they're planning, you know, to do.
True.
You know what I'm saying? So sometimes, most of the time, when I try to go into a store, I mean, especially a grocery store, I try to go in for the sale items and try to leave out with the sale items. But
that's wise. That's wise.
You know what I'm saying? But you gotta have it in your mind. You gotta purpose it in your mind. You know what you do, and to try to save. I mean, like you said, every little corner.
Yes.
You know, just to say, because you gotta watch out for tomorrow.
You do.
You know.
You do. Especially if you have family, you have kids.
Yeah.
You know, the people who you have, there are families who are single parents. I mean, let's be real. No longer does the average home consist of the traditional setup of a man and a wife. It consists of a single parent, Sometimes two single people living together, raising kids from different
Right.
families or structures. Or I saw in the news piece where some church members had lost their home, and some of the other members had took those members in and had let them stay. I mean, that's what it's getting down to, where we're gonna have to sometime pull together, where we were always individualized. You know, everybody had their own place. Now we're gonna have to do come together and you know help one another, as the Bible always tells us that. I've seen it was a church out of Durham. They had several of the members had lost their job and lost their home, and the members got together and placed them with some of the members in the church. And I think, I mean, it's unusual, but it defines what church is about.
That's right. And and that's what used to happen
It used to happen
until the government or somebody came in and said we're going to separate the church from the
from the state.
state, and then we're going to do this and we're going to do
Right.
that. But that was it could have been the most harmful thing they could have done to it,
Yeah.
to the country.
Yeah.
By doing that.
Separation of church and state.
Yeah, because we were helping one another along the way. We were sharing, taking care of one another. I even saw an advertisement in a magazine where the churches were taking care of the medical expense of one another within the congregation.
In the congregation.
Isn't that awesome?
That's beautiful. It's those things that I feel like people should be able to find in the church.
Yeah,
That's what it's about.
that's awesome.
Because you look at the people that you can win over to Christ, that they can say, the church was there for me.
Exactly.
But it seems like nowadays we got more horror stories than we got stories like that.
Yes.
Where the church turned their back on them or put them out, or there was no support. You know, but I think we need to bring those days back. When you look at it, and I'm not that young myself. I've been around the corner of a piece. I remember myself coming up as a little boy. The church was tight knit. You didn't have a family going hungry in the church. Them mothers, those sisters of the church that knew how to cook, they would, if they find out that them children ain't eating, they would give you a bag of food. Put it in your, they bring it by.
Exactly.
Cakes, and you don't find it no more. You don't find it no more. Of course, a lot of people don't cook no more either. But that's what used to happen in the church. But it doesn't happen no more.
And I remember on last Sunday night, I was looking at one of the ministers on the TV, awesome, powerful minister. I can't even remember. I wish I could call his name, and I wish I could call the city. But he went to sleep. He was thinking that he was in a sleep or he was in a daze. I don't know what he was in. But he said the Spirit of the Lord came to him, and the Lord began to minister to him about some things that needed to take place, in his church, in his community. He began to see all the poverty that was going on, all the unemployment that was going on, and dot of this and dot of that. And his church was a mega church, and it still is a mega church.
Wow.
They have big things going on in their churches, things that you just almost unimaginable. And the Lord began to show him the things of the world that was going on, and right on even in his congregation, and he began to write things. When he came out of it, he began to write all the stuff that the Lord was showing him, was telling him, was just feeling, he and his wife, and so he made a vow to his people that what his church was going to do. They were going to make sure as much as they possibly could that nobody in that church went hungry. That somebody that really, really, really needed a job, the church was going to employ them. If they weren't going to employ, they were going to make sure that they got a job. They were going to be whatever they needed to be
for the people.
Yeah, for the people in the church.
Wow.
And not only that, they were going to go outside the church too, do outreach as well. And I said to myself, that was an awesome. He was so passionate about it because he saw the unfairness of what was going on in the world. You know what I'm saying? And how people were suffering. And they had the opportunity, if people didn't have cars and didn't have a way to get to work, back and forth to work, that their church was going to make sure that they had transportation, to go. And that's an awesome mission for him to take on for his church.
It is.
You know
It
what I'm
is,
saying?
and it's beautiful because there's some mega churches that don't do that.
Wow.
They don't do that. It's all about buying the tapes and the CDs of the pastor and paying your fees for the registration of the conference and all of that. But there's so many of those members in that church that they can't afford that. But the church may be so large nobody knows, and then sometimes the members are embarrassed. They don't want nobody to know. So that's awesome.
Because that was awesome. That was awesome.
That's
said,
needed.
oh my God.
I wish sometimes, sometimes I think about it. I said, if I had the power, another child would never go to bed hungry. If I could just flip a switch, nobody would go to bed hungry. Nobody would be sleeping on the street under a bridge. Nobody would be sick and don't even know they're in the world. I don't even know if I would have death. I don't know, but life never tells us the wins or why. The tragedies that we've seen just in the last year, if I could, it wouldn't have happened. The little kids in Newtown, the random acts of violence for no reason. We had a case a few years ago. Just because the man and the wife got in an argument, he goes to her job at a nursing home and kills senior citizens. They had nothing to do with that argument, nothing to do with him and his wife. They had worked all their life. That was somebody's grandmother, somebody's mother. And this, man goes in there and shoots up everybody because she was going to leave him. And we're living in a time now where people want to punish everybody else for what they dealing with. I've never seen nothing like it. And then then once they go to court, oh, I was crazy, mental. They done planned everything out, done bought the bullets, but yet then they crazy.
Right.
Now they crazy.
Now they crazy.
They mental insanity.
And so they want us to have the courts to have
mercy on them, and they didn't have mercy on somebody else's life.
Right.
So if I could, I'd reverse all of that.